As I said, spin-off generation is one of our KPIs. So we have founded in DFKI over 100. This is something special, maybe in Germany and especially in DFKI. We don't use a lot venture capital, so that we have growth based on projects at the beginning, so that actually the founders make most of the money, and also DFKI a little bit.
ICSI and DFKI are, of course, not just for digitally native scientists, entrepreneurs, and companies, but you beautifully described how you're bridging your AI, you're injecting AI in analog or non-digital, non-AI native companies. And then the other point you're making is that ICSI and of course DFKI in this case are helping, it seems, entrepreneurs to get to what's called a minimum viable product without necessarily having to hustle, for 5-10 years and bootstrap or take venture capital and get diluted.
Sometimes we have companies, these are mostly smaller companies, the typical German Mittelstand. And here it's very good if you have enough showcases. I mean, at DFKI and also at ICSI, I always pushed demo or die mentality, a little bit like MIT Media Lab. You have to demo something, especially for these guys who are more or less non-technical and want to see more or less the effect of such a system and not so much the internal working.
Is embedding grad students with these companies as well. Previously, I've run internship programs with small and medium companies around data science, where they didn't have the data science capacity before we started, and by the end of the year, they wanted to hire the students and build that into their product development. So I could see ICSI, has a history of doing this, and we will continue that in the future. Because
the problem that we're always seeing with the small and mid-sized companies is that they cannot afford the price tags of a cutting-edge Stanford, Berkeley, Karlsruhe, whatever, PhD in artificial intelligence, right?
Having a product out there, if it's open source, right, allows you really to convince people and to gain a lot of trust without engaging. So this is a very important component in open source, and there is a company supporting that and giving you the full-fledged service. That's the situation where you can straightforwardly get to a setup where the thing is not only bought for the project, but is an integral part of the entire infrastructure. I think there's a big differentiation between those two things, and in particular, like small, medium enterprises, and we have a lot of here in the Rhine area. In particular, family businesses, they need a lot of time to be convinced. They are not buying everything that is fancy, but they need to solve problems. And those are the ones that stick with your technology and your product. So I think those are the ones difficult to convince, but once you're in, then you have a really loyal client or customer.
I think we'll see this shift in a lot of applications of AI where they are assisting. They're not doing the whole thing tasks. Some tasks, sure, they can do the whole thing, and others, they're better suited for really being powerful assistants to humans.
And as we already recognize that very good ideas that are for maybe initially non-commercial purpose might turn into a product or service that might benefit and be commercial or monetized.
There's this trajectory of the research was, hey, we're creeped out that our phones appear to be leaking information about us. How can we measure that? And the early work was all about measuring it and publicizing it. And then came the entrepreneurial opportunity, which is, gee, this is actually a service people want to know. There's a real need to then make that measurement ongoing and industrial strength. And I would tell my students, I am a deep believer in do what you're passionate about, and other things will follow from it. And keep your eyes open and be opportunistic when these opportunities do come.